And I'm going to come to Martin first, Councillor Martin Gannon from Gateshead, to talk us through transport and how we're going to deliver that in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do promise I will be brief. I can hear the groans around the room as I say that.
We're banning Madam Mayor, I'm just saying it.
Tell me what to say.
Welcome to the 20th century.
I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, the transport portfolio, first point to make is that I think all of us have for decades, perhaps even generations, recognised that the North East of England has not been treated fairly in terms of transport infrastructure investment. The creation of the combined authority and the settlements we've received thus far from central government certainly put us in a stronger place to start addressing those issues. Our ambition is to create a transport infrastructure which creates a greener, more inclusive and integrated transport network which is aligned to the economic needs of the region and benefits the residents through better public health outcomes. We have got significant resources for the first time and we are going to be utilising those. But I think it's also about one of the first priorities we have is that we are going to be renewing the local transport plan. That's something we'll be doing immediately over the last 12 months. We have an existing transport plan that was subject to extensive consultation. We mean to renew that and consult with the public. But that's about laying down ambitious plans for the future. It's about us making the case for increased resources from central government to achieve our ambition in terms of economic growth. So over the next, our priorities, I'll just go through the priorities. The programme will ensure that we invest in key sites, city centres, employment and education sites, so we ensure that all of our public transport systems are connected. We will improve social mobility to make the network more accessible. We'll invest in active travel to help to improve regional health outcomes. Over the next 12 months, as I've said, we will launch the consultation on the local transport plan and significantly, although it's been covered elsewhere, we'll be driving forward on bus reforms. But whilst that bus reform process is taking place, the legal processes to re-regulate the bus services, we won't be neglecting improvements in existing services. So that's part of the programme that's, as I say, covered elsewhere in this report. Investment in improving the existing public transport and bus network whilst pressing ahead with wider bus reform. It's also, we're pressing ahead with the Leamside line and the Washington loop. That's, again, covered elsewhere within the agenda today. And the Mayor has already mentioned that we're commencing work on the Shields ferry landing scheme. In the longer term, as I've said, we'll be introducing the Angel network of our integrated transport network. We'll be implementing better buses through bus reform work, but we'll also, and it's part of the devolution deal, we'll be seeking to improve local rail services through the formal partnership that we're establishing with Great British Rail. Madam Mayor, I'm not going to go, I'll withdraw that comment. Kim, I'll not go on much further than that, except to say there's an extensive programme. There's much there to be proud of. There's lots of work to press ahead on, and it'll be dependent upon us being able to secure additional resources from government.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gannon. It's really exciting stuff, the work that we're doing in public transport. I want to thank the team because we are moving really at pace and we're putting an awful lot of pressure on them and they're responding really, really well to it. There's also some real fast-moving stuff in government for us to be working to get our heads around, but will also help us to go further and help us to go faster, which is just fantastic. Would anyone like to comment on the transport portfolio before we move on to our next portfolio report? Oh, no, yeah,
just think
sorry,
it's
Mayor
great.
Redfern.
Sorry, I think it's great news, Chair. At the last, we're going to tackle buses, because I get complaints all the time from people in the area that you can't get to places on Sundays, they can't see to their relatives. So I think we'll be pleasing a lot of people actually addressing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, completely agree. Councillor Checker.
Thank you, Mayor McGuinness. I don't know what to call you, so I apologise now.
I've caused a thing, haven't I?
It's so exciting to hear these plans, particularly around active travel for improved health outcomes, and it's something that I wholeheartedly get behind. But also ensuring residents can reliably travel to work and leisure is going to have a massive impact on our region and its attractiveness as a place to invest. The Leamside line particularly, it's massive for Sunderland and the North East as a whole, not just for people to get around, but to get our economy moving along as well. And it is about time. It's unacceptable that towns like Washington have been left behind and disconnected from public transport for so long. So I'm very excited that we're turning the page on those dark days, and thank you, Martin.
Lovely, thank you. I mean, the public transport network represents the infrastructure of opportunity. That's what it is. It's about getting the infrastructure lined up so we can create opportunity, and that's what I'm hoping to see from this plan as we deliver it, an ambitious plan over the coming years. With that, I'm going to hand over to you, Councillor Checker, to take us through the investment portfolio, please.
Thank you very much. I probably should have been ready for that, Ben. So the finance and investment portfolio is responsible for developing the finance and investment framework with cross-portfolio evidence base and financial programmes needed to deliver the priorities of the Mayor and this Cabinet. The initial budget for the authority for the 24-25 financial year is £402 million, including funding for transport, skills, housing and economic development. The devolution deal confirmed the investment fund at £48 million per year for 30 years. That's £34 million revenue and £14 million capital. The North East has been one of the most successful regions outside London in attracting inward investment and foreign-owned business, providing thousands of jobs within the region. Continuing this success is a key objective for the region. Through our devolved powers and investment framework, we want to work alongside businesses, investors and partners, collaborating across portfolios and geographies to ensure the best possible outcomes for the North East. Some of the portfolio responsibilities within this include the investment framework, which will set out an ambitious and strategic approach to investment for the North East region and ensure that the combined authority makes the best use of its financial resources. Overseeing project development and assurance, including considering the impact on reducing child poverty as part of this process, and which will be threaded throughout. Some of the early priorities you've already mentioned include bringing forward the first investment zones, including the skills pipeline for the electric vehicle and offshore wind sectors, and proposals to support the next phase of development and innovation. Developing a marketing and promotional strategy for the investment zone will be an important element of the portfolio's work. Bringing forward proposals for a North East Inward Investment Fund and developing a successor to the North East Fund. Some of the longer-term priorities include undertaking a review and bringing forward proposals to support the availability of growth and innovation finance, including green finance as part of an investment framework for the combined authority, working closely with the economy portfolio. Support suggestions with the government around the single pot measures to provide greater financial flexibility to deliver the region's priorities. Consult, develop and implement the preferred approaches to an access to finance or regional wealth programme to inward investment, working again with the economy portfolio. And the portfolio has responsibility to oversee the assurance of investment decisions recommended to Cabinet. The priorities and initiatives to boost investment in the region will require a wide-ranging consultation with businesses, investors and other partners, and decisions regarding the combined authority posture to investment and risk tolerance. The forthcoming investment framework for the combined authority will be required to enable the mayoral manifesto and the priorities set out in the portfolio plans, and to provide a basis for the choices to be made. And the next steps will be for us to work to undertake the priorities outlined in the portfolio plans, which will be overseen by the Portfolio Advisory Board. And this will include representation from the Business Board and, of course, the voluntary sector. And that's all I've got to say on that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Again, some really big decisions already made in this portfolio, which we can see are pushing forward our agenda, delivering on the manifesto, and crucially, doing that so in an inclusive way, which is all about reducing inequality and tackling child poverty in our region, as well as getting business growth. I think what's really clear from this portfolio is that it demonstrates we're not, as a combined authority, resting on our laurels. Yes, we've been handed a big devolution deal, which has a significant amount of money attached to it, but our job is not just to spend it down, it's to use that to bring in more investment, to bring in more cash, to improve people's lives across our region. And I'm really pleased with the approach so far in this portfolio. Does anyone want to add anything or add any comments? Yes, Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. Mayor McGuinness. Thank you, Councillor Checker. Thank you for...
I should have said, by the way, we are live streaming now. We have been for about 5 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you for your report update. I think what it demonstrates is the scale of the ambition of the deal, but also of us as a combined authority. It's quite clear all the discussions we've had around the investment portfolio and the wider ambitions of devolution is really about the opportunity of growth. So it's really about leverage and attracting additional investment into the region. But I think it also shows the commonality between all of our portfolio areas of responsibilities and the interconnectivity. And clearly the interconnection between the investment portfolio and the economy portfolio is critical, particularly around investment zones, but also around, as Mayor McGuinness introduced at the beginning, around the growth plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments at this point? Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor Checker. With that, we're going to move on to Councillor Dixon and the skills portfolio. Obviously, without this, we can't enable a workforce to create jobs and create growth and tackle child poverty. So, really exciting portfolio area.
Thank you, Mayor Kim. You're getting 4 titles this afternoon. So good afternoon, colleagues. Obviously, back at the very first Cabinet we had in June, I did highlight the progress that we've actually made within this portfolio and the great progress that we actually made with regard to the Education Fund. And also, you know, we are progressing with our regional strategy. But here in the region, we do have our challenges. You know, we have to look at ourselves as a region. We know that child poverty is persistently high and it's deepening with 3 in our children living in the region in poverty. The regional's employment rate is consistently lower than in the national average and we face rising levels of economic inactivity driven by long-term sickness. And there's also a persistent gap, Mayor, between academic outcomes for our pupils compared with their peers nationally, exacerbated for those from a disadvantaged background. But we do have ambitions for the education, inclusion and skills, which includes working with a diverse range of partners, employers and communities to deliver new and ambitious approaches to growing a more inclusive economy, including encouraging good work that helps to lift residents, especially our children, out of poverty. Co-design and collaboration will be the heart of our approach, ensuring local needs are understood and embedded in our interventions. We do have some objectives, and I'll just go through a couple of them. You know, we want to improve employability, employment programs, including support for our residents with complex barriers in physical and mental health to access and sustain good work. We want to address the symptoms and causes of child poverty by supporting children, families, schools and employers. And we want to support strong and connected communities to help to reduce inequalities and improve well-being for all. Mayor, that is just a few objectives that we have. We're just talking about over the next 12 months what we're hoping to do and to achieve. We're looking to deliver a new North East Combined Authority Child Poverty Prevention Programme, addressing symptoms and causes of child poverty by providing support to children, families, schools and employers, including welfare and benefit advice. We want to support early childhood services, including through the Mayor's Opportunity Fund and by supporting childcare to help people into work and career progression. We want to deliver the Regional Adult Skills Programme, for an example, Devolved Adult Skills Fund, free courses for jobs and skill boot camps. We want to deliver an employment programme to support residents with multiple and complex barriers into work and sustain good work, including those support to help residents with mentally and physical ill health in sustainable employment. We want to work with employers to deliver targeted employer-led skills for growth programmes. We want to launch a North East Careers Hub, physical and online, to ensure everyone can access training and develop alongside integration to our services. And we want to work with the economic portfolio to drive employment standards in the region, working with businesses and the trade unions, and build on examples including the Good Work Pledge, Better Health at Work, Durham Pound and the South Tyneside Pledge. So Mayor Kim, you'll see that this portfolio has an awful lot that we're wanting to deliver over over the next 12 months, but the last few months in particular, we've been driving the agenda, and we highlighted that at the June Cabinet, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Councillor Dixon. I think it's it's a really, really exciting portfolio area, and whether it's good news to you or not, I think we're going to see it grow significantly as very much making up some of those conversations about the English Devolution Bill are the back to work support, job support for people in our local areas being devolved to regions, because that is going to be absolutely key to tackling child poverty, to creating a more skilled workforce in our region, filling some of those skills gaps, getting more people into better paid work, which is all good news for us. And I'm really excited, particularly around the work on employment rights both taking place in national government with the New Deal for workers, and I'm looking forward to working with Cabinet on a new deal for North East workers. We will of course be bringing more detailed plans about our plans to tackle child poverty in September, so I'll trail that now, but what we're looking to do, I think, is very different to what's going on elsewhere in the country, and will hopefully see us finally move the dial on something that has blighted our area for far too long. Does anybody have any questions or comments on Councillor Dixon's report? Yes, thank you, Councillor Scott.
Yeah, just a quick comment, Mayor, to say that I was delighted when this agenda got its own portfolio, because I think too often it's seen as cross-cutting and then sometimes gets forgotten about. So I think this gives it the priority that it very much deserves. And some of the things that has been mentioned there around a careers hub and really getting under the skin of what inclusion means in the workforce, you know, it is exactly the right thing to do. And actually, if we don't get this portfolio right, we all might as well go home, because the rest of it is not going to benefit the people of the North East if we can't get them into work and training and those opportunities. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. We can create all the jobs we want, but if we don't have the workforce in the region to fill them, then you're absolutely right. Any other comments? Oh, sorry, Councillor Redfern. Oh, sorry, Mayor Redfern. Oh, gosh.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll sort out these titles, won't we?
Sure we will, I'm sure. I just want to say this is a really opportunity for us that is absolutely fantastic. For too long, it has been dictated to us from London what we really need here. And this is the opportunity that we can direct resources to areas where the greatest need. But more importantly, we can monitor them as well. So we will be responsible for the outcomes, and that is great news as far as I'm concerned.
Completely agree. Any other comments? Thank you very much, Councillor Dixon, and that takes us nicely on to Mayor Redfern's report on housing, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, first of all, when I'm listening to all this, all these things that are going on, this is about the people of the region. This is about improving their lives and for their families as well. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity that we've agreed to come together to make this happen. And I don't think we want to ever forget that, to be quite honest. But as far as housing concerned, I think there's a great need in this area for housing, as you know, and probably right across the country, because housing hasn't been built. Housing hasn't been top of the agenda for some time, particularly social housing, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about the other leaders, but I have over 4,000 people on our housing list. And for anyone, one of the most important things is to have a roof over their head where they feel safe and secure, with their families and the children. And whatever comes along, if you've got that safety net, you can cope with the rest of the things in your life with some help, I think. So it's really important that we get on and build these houses. I think we also need to build houses for sales. People want to get on the housing ladder. But more importantly, if we're going to attract businesses in the area, we'll have to provide the housing for them and their staff. And once again, our friend Councillor Hanson, you know, and in Durham, there's a great need to have housing there, because we don't want always those people to leave your area. We want them to stay where they are because there has been a lack of housing in the past. And I just would like to say, as far as I'm concerned, that we want some quality housing as well. I get lots of complaints, I don't know about others, about the quality housing that some of these developers are building. We should have some criteria we can all agree to that will actually improve the quality of those housing. I think we need to work with the housing providers. I think we have to have a strategic plan so every area in our region that we're responsible for has duly concern and will be provided for their needs. And I know I'm delighted that the Deputy Prime Minister today has come out and said she's going to build, hopefully, 1.5 million houses in the next 5 years. And that's something to grab onto and make this happen. And if we can build those houses, we need the skills as well to develop and make that happen. And at the same time, when I'm listening and talking to all of you, it just fills me with pride that we had the courage to come together and make that happen. Because I can see the future of this region growing with all the effort that's been made here. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I couldn't agree more. We've got 66,000 people on our social housing waiting list across this region, which demonstrates just how desperate we are for good quality social homes. And what's really clear again from this portfolio is that we have ambition to build the green homes of the future. You know, the houses that can change people's lives, that can help people out of poverty, and crucially, housing that will create opportunity as we build a workforce skilled to build those homes in our region, creating jobs along the way. It's all really, really positive. It was great to join Mayor Redfern as well as others in announcing the new health neighbourhood on the General Hospital site. Obviously, we've seen in the previous, we've seen in this report as well the cash signed off for Fourth Yards. Let's go back to Fourth Banks, but that's because that's the police station. But yes, the police station for Fourth Yards, which is fantastic news, and there will be more to come, enabled by decisions in government to make it easier. I'm not saying it won't be a challenge, it will. It always is. Building new housing is always a challenge, but we also want to see improvements in existing housing stock and support for those who rent their home as well. So thank you. Any questions or comments on this portfolio? Councillor Gannon.
Thank you. Less a question than a statement. You mentioned it, 60,000 people on local authority waiting lists. And with the greatest of respect, welcome all of the initiatives that's been taken by the new government. However, houses provided by private developers, even affordable houses by private developers, are not going to be affordable to those 68,000 people who are waiting on waiting lists. There is a desperate need for social housing, whether provided directly by local authorities or through partners. The reality is that, unfortunately, housing in this country is seen as a commodity, okay, not as a social good. 2 million too few properties, and if we were to overnight, I can't see builders building houses in sufficient quantities when all it does through the laws of supply and demand would drive down the price of their own product. That's just irrational within a free market economy. The fact is that if we're going to provide homes for people, they're going to be provided as social housing. And I, welcome the initiatives by government, but I think there are further representations to be made in that area.
Thank you, Councillor Gannon. There's such a strong commitment around this table for good quality social housing, and I'm looking forward to us working together to make sure we're delivering it across the region. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Checker.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment from an investment perspective that investment in sites which otherwise would have remained derelict without financial support is a huge part of what we can do as leaders to get homes built for local people. And through the investment we're making, we're creating not just more homes, but proper communities that have the amenities people need and can be proud to call their home. So I'm really excited about this, and I thank you for it.
Completely agree, Councillor Kemp.
Completely agree, full stop, Councillor Kemp. Oh, you completely I like that.
You love you. The day that I say that, Councillor Kemp.
I think it's really welcome the housing element of it, and comments colleagues have made, I think, are absolutely right and proper. But I think, again, it's one of those points where it's that linkage around the economic strategy, because really, I think in the past, we've been led by the market and by the private sector. So houses occur where the developers wish them to be, rather than actually, in effect, if we're looking towards net zero, if we're looking about our overarching ambitions, then actually having the right houses in the right places next to the right jobs is really important.
Absolutely. That joined up approach across our region to make sure that we're building in the right places is going to be so key. Maximising the opportunities around our public transport network, thinking about things in a different way to support people to move around our region in a green way, I think has to be part of our plans. But as I said, we've got some really exciting opportunities going forward. I think the things coming forward in that English devolution bill and the intention of government will enable us to do that. But we are going to have to be brave, and we're going to have to be bold, and we're going to have to make some really big choices, like Councillor Gannon says, to prioritise social housing across our region. Lovely. Right, you're very good at these linkages. The last person spoken is often the next person to speak. So, Councillor Kemp, it's over to you and the economy portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McGuinness. I think the direction of this portfolio brief really is about establishing a bold, incredible economic strategy that fits for the whole of the region, that looks at investment and boosts growth and productivity, but also directs our economic transition and reducing inequalities. That's got to be one of the fundamental drivers. It was the overarching ambition of the combined authority, those structural inequalities. I think we've got enormous assets and capabilities to build upon, but it's aligning them, join them together collaboratively. So when we look at the innovation centres that we have, we look at the excellence that exists in our further and higher education institutions. I think we're in a position where we have better collaboration and cooperation than we've ever seen. I think devolution sort of turbo boosts that opportunity. We've got sectors that are, I'm hesitant to use the term unique, but certainly advanced in excellence around advanced manufacturing, the tech sector, offshore oil and gas, and particularly that transition opportunity, and then the growing opportunities that exist in space, green, and our wider creative industries. But obviously, you know, the purpose of the devolution deal is to address those challenges. So in this region, obviously, we suffer from lower than national average of productivity and wages, lower employment, and we're also seeing emerging sector skill shortages. So really, what we need to do through this economic plan and economic portfolio requires a clear sense of our opportunities to boost growth and productivity, but a clear plan to proactively guide our economic transition in a way that tackles structural inequality in key industries, ensures we drive up good work and fair pay, to drive down poverty, and to ensure that the basics of the economy support economic participation. This means affordable childcare and exceptional public services and a thriving foundational economy, offering sustainable jobs for local communities. This will be the core purpose of our inclusive industrial strategy. And at this point, I do want to place on record my gratitude to those businesses and agencies who've joined with me in the developing work around the industrial strategy for myself and Mayor McGuinness to drive forward and actually really influence and shape this national industrial strategy that the government is committed to. So I'll just highlight a few of the points around the economy portfolio, if I may. So we've got a clear plan to create green jobs with a just transition and wider jobs, an area of opportunity for the region, including where we have delivery capabilities to attract private investment, we need to deliver the scale of ambition we have. We support the innovators and entrepreneurs, trading on our reputation of centuries of creativity and invention. We understand and champion our opportunities to have transformational impact in the region and for the UK, and that we are explicitly joined up and collaborative, working across mayor and portfolio holders on interdependent but critical interventions in areas like skills for growth, investment, and ensuring every resident, place and institution plays a role in the region's success. And what we're really going to do is create a new deal for working people. So I'm very enthusiastic and ambitious about this agenda. I think it really demonstrates that whole feed through of all the portfolios, but equally about the opportunity that this region can present to provide into the UK PLC.
Thank you very much. As we pull together the growth plan for the region and the inclusive economic strategy, you can really see how lucky we are to have the assets that we've got and the opportunity that they present us to create good quality jobs and to really improve people's lives. We do have that unrivaled access to rivers and ports for offshore wind and green energy, and an advanced manufacturing sector, which includes the opportunity to build more EVs and to really go forward in battery technology, a thriving tech sector. You know, our cultural and creative industries are second to none and are exactly the sort of thing that we want to help us to grow our economy. And of course, we can't forget that foundational economy enabling us with childcare workers, care workers, you know, and those who work close to where they live. You know, there's real opportunity for us, and this is a plan that really leans into that, and I'm really pleased about it.
If I may just add one additional comment, really, and I think it's the point that if I look back at the history of economic development and regional development across this country, it was frequently the case that actually it was rather difficult to identify which region was which, as those would claim to have areas of excellence or experience. I think what truly is unique about the North East is our place and our location, so coastal, city and countryside, and actually the opportunity to deliver innovation in the economy in all of those areas. But also, let's not forget the point of our geographical position of being adjacent to the world's largest offshore wind farm. So the opportunities around that just transition to provide energy security, not just to our residents, to address a number of your manifesto pledges, but also as a net contribution to the UK energy security and water security. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments on this portfolio? Councillor Dixon?
Yes, just to comment, Mayor, just really, obviously with regard to this portfolio, how it links with the education, inclusion and skills, and I'm really looking forward to working with Councillor Kemp on all of this and in delivering both what we need to do for the region, Mayor.
Lovely, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gannon?
Can't stop myself except to say I was really enthusiastic listening to that report from Nick, because I think it demonstrates the true value of this organisation and the manifesto that you stood on, Mayor McGuinness, which highlighted as its top priority tackling poverty and inequality, particularly child poverty. And the issue is that all of the issues in terms of poor public health outturns or outputs in this region are related to income. Okay, the fact that incomes in this region are lower than the national average, all of those issues feed through in terms of public health. So the way in which the organisation works, the portfolios, but how they join up, improving skills, improving transport infrastructure, and growing the economy is how we will tackle poverty and inequality in the region. So the organisation coming together for the first time, 7 local authorities united on that agenda, I think is really significant.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I'll add to that, you know, improving childcare, because, you know, putting more money, more opportunity, particularly to the women of our region will really support us, because you are absolutely right, it is about income. Oh, thank you very much. Now, in Councillor Kemp's portfolio report, he did reference our landscape and the fact that we have got, you know, unrivaled countryside and coastline and a vast rural area that I think other combined authorities don't have the opportunity to boast, but we do. And so with that, I'll hand over to Councillor Sanderson to talk us through the rural and coastal portfolio, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Before I go on to that, I was just thinking, listening to those excellent summaries of the portfolios, just how much we've got to build on that's already there that we can actually make more of. I'm thinking of all the green energy, all the green industry that's sprouting up throughout our council areas. Not far up the coast from here in Blythe, Blythe Harbour made its fortune 140 years ago in power by coal. Today, it has transformed itself to becoming a thriving port because of green energy, bringing the power down from the huge turbines on the Dogger Bank and all the industry that's working with them. And that is just, we can work there, we can work well with all of those people. So I'm very enthusiastic about the whole concept of making the most of natural resources and the green energy. Because, Mayor, everything that we do, every pound we spend, every decision we make will affect our environment in one way or another. And our environment is something that our residents and our visitors see and touch and feel and enjoy every day. And it's something that's very important to all of us leaders to make sure we do everything we can to make that environment as it should be. So I'm really glad that we have this particular portfolio that works with the others to make sure that we bind together in thinking about the environment. And I'm not just talking about climate change, I'm talking about all the other parts that people enjoy, whether it's parks, whether it's enjoying nature, and all the other pastimes that people like to do. So our work is guided by an advisory board, which is now set up, and all the seats are taken, and we have a fantastic array of experts and leading people in the world of rural areas, countryside, environment, and coastal issues. We will work on a new plan to come to you in September, which will be called the Environment. It's not a terribly catchy title, but I'll work on it. The Environmental Stewardship Coast and Rural Growth Plan, because rural growth is just as important as growth in urban areas, because we all benefit from each other. That will come to you all for your consideration, and it will have probably a request for some money as well. But I know you're all going to be really keen to help with that, aren't you, Nick? To summarise, because I know we have still other matters to talk about, Mayor, I think this combined authority will really lead the way for combined authorities. I have always been a passionate supporter of it, and I remain that way. I think it's one that will tackle inequalities and show others how to do it. It will bring prosperity and growth and investment and show others how to do it. It will bind rural areas and urban areas together so that they both benefit from each other. And above all, it will demonstrate that we care deeply about the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think they're absolutely right. You know, we absolutely have to protect our environment. You know, we have got a climate crisis. We've got to act. And you can see that running as a thread through all of the portfolio plans, that move to greener, better ways of doing things, and particularly in that environment, rural and coastal portfolio. I think your point about Blythe and the green energy opportunities. My dad worked at that power station. I'm going to visit the Blythe Catapult on Friday. And I really can't wait, because I do think that what we are doing in this region on that can change the national picture, and I think we really have to grasp that opportunity with both hands, and we've got to take all of the opportunities that are available to us, being that huge combined with this huge vast geography that takes on board 3 cities, countless towns, and the vast rural area, because we're very lucky to have it. We've got to protect it, and we can get growth right across our region as well as across the country. So thank you very much for that. And is there any questions or comments about environment, rural and coastal? Mayor Norma.
I certainly will welcome your environmental stewardship, whatever it is, to be quite honest, because it is important that we do that. Because for too long, people who live in our rural areas feel forgotten. For some reason, I don't know why, but they do feel forgotten. And many of us have audacity to go enjoy your areas, to be quite honest. And when it comes to asking for something, we've got deaf ears. But I think that's not been the case here. I think you would agree that, we have considered your area very much and we appreciate it as well. And we can see the kind of things that you can bring for us. But more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, listening to what's been going on, I think there's nothing that any of us can't actually attack and achieve if we keep on working together with keeping our residents at the forefront of our thinking. And I think we can show the rest of the world, the rest of the area, how to do it, to be quite honest. And we've come a long way since we first met, haven't we? Right, thank you very much.
Hear, hear. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. I would endorse your comments about the Port of Blythe. As a former trustee of the Port of Blythe, I'm very proud to have played my small role in that, and I think you're absolutely right. It's leading the way of that green revolution. I think the piece that I'm really excited about in your portfolio, Councillor Sanderson, is that combination of the coastal element and the opportunities to protect those coastal communities, but also celebrate some of the greatest coastlines in the UK. And I think, there really are something that perhaps in the past we've been proud to protect because we wish to keep it for ourselves, but I think there's something to really celebrate. And I think the other piece that I think is really exciting opportunities for us is that whole area around biodiversity. And I think that, we are rich in habitat, and I think it's an opportunity to celebrate. And what we must remember is that the welfare and well-being and health for our citizens is benefited by the open space, those green spaces. So building the right homes and having the right jobs is critically important, but having that space for people to enjoy that natural habitat is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No, lovely. Right, that takes us, thank you very much, Councillor Sanderson, and that takes us on to our last portfolio report, absolutely last but not least at all, because, again, a really exciting area for us, and that's culture. And so I'll hand over to Councillor Scott from County Durham to talk us through this. It is such a huge, important part of our region. It is about who we are, it's about the pride that we have in our place, but also a huge economic opportunity for us.
Thank you, Mayor, and exactly. This is the portfolio that defines who we are as a region and tells our story to the rest of the world. It defines why our residents want to live and work here and why people want to visit. It also drives social and economic outcomes. The North East has the most advanced and ambitious devolution deal in the country in terms of culture, heritage, sport and tourism, and we will work with our partners, our communities and directly with government to meet and to exceed those ambitions. We're setting out an ambitious portfolio plan that will benefit the whole region and ensure that every part of the region can play its part. The plan's been developed in consultation with our interim advisory group and a series of sector and local authority workshops. On the visitor economy, we have tremendous assets, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, world-class events, incredible food and drink and stunning landscapes. But we consistently punch below our weight, especially with international visitors. To realise our potential, we need to work together as a region, hand in hand with the sector, and that's why we're setting out plans to build on the Destination Development Partnership and publish a 10-year tourism strategy that will maximise the potential of the visitor economy, taking a regional tourism approach to care for those assets. Events are a key part of the visitor economy. Equally, they are vital to placemaking, community pride, and to develop and support the culture and sport workforce and infrastructure. We are home to world-class events such as the UK's largest light festival in Durham and key international events in football, cricket and rugby, alongside local impactful festivals in our communities. We have to build on this strength, connecting to national strategies at the same time as regional distinctiveness. We'll set out a regional event strategy, an ambitious pipeline of events, and identify the most effective infrastructure to develop those ambitions. We can agree the strategy and business case for infrastructure alongside an indicative pipeline of events which include early potential for supporting and delivering regional benefit. Creativity and invention is in the region's DNA, and the priorities of the CCTS portfolio set out how we'll harness this to improve both economic and social outcomes. Early portfolio priorities set out in the report support the regional screen industry, with Cabinet asked to approve funding to improve the Riverside Sunderland site in readiness for major investment. We've got the assets, and we've got the brands, and we've got the passion. It's time to really make them work for the greater good of the people of the North East.
Well said, absolutely well said. We do have such a huge opportunity, and you know, it is getting out there and telling our story. I think this is the best place in the world, and it's through this portfolio, and that getting our place out there on the national and international stage, we'll be able to do that. Because as we've said before, talent is classless, it knows no place, but at the moment that isn't the case for opportunity. And so it gives us everything that we need to be giving every child the best opportunity to have cultural experiences, to bring major events into our region, to attract tourists, and to build our skills, and crucially to create jobs contributing to our economy through this really crucial portfolio. Are there any other questions and comments for Councillor Scott before we move on? Councillor Dixon?
Yes, just a couple of comments, Madam Mayor. I think this is really exciting for us as a sorry, maybe. Sorry, Kim. Apologies. I think this is really exciting for us as a region. I think, you know, I welcome so many things within this portfolio. You've touched upon the designated development pilot. I mean, how exciting for us as a region with regard to the Crownworks studio. But what I really welcome is you've just touched upon the events that we have across the region. We have so much to offer, and I really do welcome the opportunity of this regional events strategy so we can avoid duplication. So, you know, across the area of the North East, people have the opportunity to attend individual events rather than duplication. And I really welcome that opportunity as well for that to come forward, Councillor Scott. So I think this is a fantastic opportunity to build on what we already have, but lots of work to be done. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Dixon. And you're absolutely right about the events strategy. Do you know what I've realised halfway through this meeting, that when mine's on, you can't hear yours, so that's good for future. But no, you're right about avoiding duplication. But I think in that screen piece of work, look, we all love seeing the North East on the television and in film, but what we have to remember is what this represents is those great foundational jobs, you know, the joiners, the hairdressers, the makeup artists, the people that work behind the scenes, the technicians. That is fantastic, great quality work for people in our region that they just haven't had the opportunity, or if they have, they've had to go to London to do it. And so everything that we're talking about, taking, you know, power away from London, making our own decisions, this sector reflects the opportunity that young people deserve to do that. Any other questions before? Thank you, Mayor Redfern.
Thank you, Mayor. All I was going to say is, I welcome this. Yeah, for too long we haven't shouted long enough about our area, and there's something about building pride and giving the people the opportunity to be very, very proud of where we live, because we are, but we don't shout about it enough. So I do welcome this. Great,
thank you. Councillor Checker.
Thank you very much, and I couldn't not mention Crownworks, could I? But obviously, from our, there's going to be so many wider opportunities created through the North East Screen Industries Partnership. I think that we've got further education, higher education organisations building on that creative talent that we've got in the region and building more creative talent in the region. The creative economy and sort of content production is a key growth opportunity for us, and Crownworks in Sunderland will be the jewel in the crown of the region. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It's such an exciting time for both Sunderland and the whole of the North East. It's going to totally reimagine how our region is seen. We're going to literally be on the screens of millions across the nation and hopefully across the world. And I think it's really important that we work with the government and those arm's length bodies to get behind our ambition and ensure that this is just the start of what we can achieve.
Absolutely. And later this week, I don't know whether I'm accidentally announcing something or not, but later this week we'll welcome the Director General of the BBC to come and talk to us exactly about how we can create more opportunity in screen and in those partnerships in culture and creative industries to showcase our region. It was great recently to see Craster on television, although redressed as an island, which was quite odd to see. But, you know, having those studios there just create even more opportunity for us. So, yeah, great work from everyone so far in bringing those opportunities to our region, coming together to make those decisions and in that portfolio. I'm going to wrap up the portfolio reports there, but before I do, I'll ask Lucy Winskill and Martin Brutes, our business and CVS representatives, if they'd like to add any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very quick because I know you want to move on. It was really exciting to read these plans, and even more exciting to listen to the portfolio leads explain them and bring that passion out. I think congratulations are due to all of the portfolio leads and those behind the scenes have put together the start of some really good plans. And I know Martin will say something in a minute, but he and I will be thinking about how the work that we will lead underpins all 7 of those strands. What's really struck me today is listening to you all recognise something we obviously know, is that, wearing my business hat, the business role doesn't just feature in the economy portfolio, it features in all 7, and that's been referenced by all 7 leads, and how important that is that we understand that interconnectivity. So really heartening, a great start, and as you know, Mayor, I and the business board, as we shape it up together, are here to lend support across all areas, but super piece of work, really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McGuinness. I think it's exciting to see the work of the Combined Authority can really get going across the breadth of all the portfolios. And the community and voluntary sector is part of the fabric of the North East. It's woven throughout communities, supporting, representing and advocating for them. And it's great that the community voluntary sector has a seat at the Cabinet of the Combined Authority, and the whole of the sector looks forward to working with colleagues across the Combined Authority, weaving the sector through the plans to ensure they fully succeed and help and represent all communities.
Thank you very much, and we're really grateful for you joining our cabinet. The fact of the matter is, we know we won't do this alone. We know that we need the support of our businesses and the community voluntary sector to do that. You've both been wonderful partners in delivery so far, and will be in the future. And what always strikes me when I attend a room that is full of businesses, or a room that's full of community and voluntary sector, or increasingly actually both together, is that willingness to be, helping us to drive forward. Getting involved in both the social and economic agenda for the region, helping us to get that growth and tackle some of our issues around inequality and child poverty as we create opportunity. So thank you very much, and we look forward to continuing to work together to get it done. Great. Shall we move on to the next agenda item? Okay. Oh yeah, sorry. We have to agree the recommendations. So there are in this a huge number of recommendations. By my count, there's 10 or 11 recommendations. So I'm not going to go through them one by one, but can I ask whether we can take them all in one go and agree the recommendations? Okay, we're agreed. Lovely. Thank you. That takes us on to item 7, which is the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement. We've talked already a little bit about public transport, about creating that infrastructure of opportunity here. And this is a programme of sustainable transport capital investment totalling £181 million across our region. Included in this are some real highlights. We are seeing nearly £9 million invested into smart ticketing. That's contactless ticketing across our public transport network. The first steps to integration that was set out very clearly in my manifesto and in the plans of the Combined Authority. Also included in this, 90 kilometres of new active travel network, an expanded network of electric vehicle charging points, largely in rural areas, I might add, to plug some of those gaps that we've got. More improved safety through our metro stations, and improved safety and bus stops and shelters on our bus stops, new park and rides, as well as the ferry landing that we've already discussed. So a huge £10 million for Sunderland Station. So a huge amount in this report. As I've already already said, great work from Martin as the transport lead and the transport team. And with that, I'll hand over to you, Councillor Gannon, to take us through it in more detail.
Well, I won't necessarily go through it in detail, except to say it is an absolutely extensive programme. It's been negotiated through with all of the relative partners. £181 million from a overall allocation in terms of the first tranche of City Regions Sustainable Transport Funding of £564 million. What I would say is that, first of all, recognise the significance of City Regions Sustainable Transport Funding. I'm not in any way dismissive, okay? The fact that we have a multi-year fund, you know, that we have a certainty of funding year on year is significant. And it allows us to make these sorts of really radical and transformational decisions on behalf of the region. However, you know, some people know that I used to be a trade union negotiator for a living in a previous life, yes. And sometimes when I was asked by employers, what do you want? I used to give them a one-word answer: more. What I want is more. And I feel exactly the same in terms of this, okay? So, and I would point members to, if I can find the paragraph, 1.2. City Region Sustainable Transport Funding totals £563 million of capital funds in the period up to March 2027. However, it then goes on. It consolidates existing funds, including highway maintenance funding, pothole funding, integrated block grant, and a proportion of Transforming Cities funding. It's actually the third tranche of the 3-year Transforming Cities funding. That brings the total of consolidated funding, existing funding that we received prior to the establishment of the combined authority, to £416 million, which means that there's £147 million from that total, which is new funding. Now, that's not insignificant. It's not insignificant. You know, I wish I had, personally, £147 million. It's a lot of money, right? But a 5-year programme divided between 7 local authorities, forgive me, I think that's about £4 million per year. And except it's an additional £4 million a year. Point I'm making is that, yes, welcome all of this, okay? It is significant that we have a multi-year settlement. It's an opportunity to plan transformational change. It is £147 million in total, more than we would have received otherwise. But I think we need to campaign vigorously if we're going to achieve our ambitions for more.
Thank you very much, and we will absolutely be doing that. We've got some really big, very ambitious plans in the coming years, some of which we've already announced, and they will require more. But I have every confidence in you as portfolio holder that together we will be able to deliver even more. But a really strong agenda of radical announcements. I should add, including 350 million of highways maintenance for you, local councils, to improve roads, which is good news for residents too. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this before we agree the recommendations? Lovely. Are we happy to take all of those recommendations and agree them? Agreed. They're ahead of me. Right, lovely. So item 8 is improving and reforming North East buses. To me, this is a really exciting report because very, very clear and upfront and centre in my manifesto was a commitment to bus reform. We have seen significant cuts to our buses since 2010, and despite that, buses are the #1 form of public transport that most people use. It is not an option to not do something about it. We have got to improve our bus services if we want to unlock opportunities across our region. And so this report is starting that process, giving us the go-ahead to get underway with bus reform. We've made that promise, and as I said, we're going to get on and we're going to deliver it. It's a big piece of work. It's a long-term project. With some change in government, we will hopefully have the opportunity to move quicker with it, but we've got to get going first of all. I want to take the opportunity to highlight, and I'm going to come to Councillor Sanderson at the moment, that we will be the first area to embark on this process who do have that vast swathe of rural countryside, both in Northumberland and County Durham, and actually to an extent in Gateshead. And part of this will be a huge consultation which will go to the public about what it is that they want and need from their bus services wherever it is they live in our region. So first of all, I'll go to Councillor Gannon to take us through the report, and then we'll come to Councillor Sanderson.
Okay, thank you, Mayor McGuinness. This is perhaps the most significant decision that we're making. And I'm sure, as you are aware, you campaigned on the issue of radical reform of our public transport system, bus services, and during the course of the election, that message came across very strongly. But it's something that we're aware of anyway. Okay, you know, public transport. It's a bit of a misnomer, you know, because it's not public transport; it's private companies who run bus services, and not always run bus services in the interests of the public. They run them in the interests of private bus companies. It's been mentioned in your introduction, Mayor McGuinness, that it's incredibly important that, because we are a unique combined authority, combining urban areas with, you know, substantial rural areas. And one of the points I would make is that, you know, people are concerned in rural areas. This is going to be an improvement. The point I would make is, it is for the benefit of our rural communities that we need to press ahead in this. I'm fortunate to some extent. I live in Low Fell in the centre of Gateshead. As it happens in my household, there's three of us. I'm the only driver. My wife and my daughter don't drive. So 2/3 of my household depend on public transport. They're really lucky. We live 20 yards away from the main 167 and the most extensive bus route through the region, the 21 bus, which runs every 8 minutes, okay, and runs overnight, okay. So, but it's not like that. It's not like that in rural areas, okay. The operators will run buses in areas where they can make money, but they won't run buses in areas where they can't make money. The role that we've had in the past as local authorities is that we have provided subsidy to operators from the limited resources that we have, to be able to encourage them, because we cannot make them, but we encourage them to provide additional services in areas that otherwise wouldn't have them. The introduction of a franchise bus scheme, whereby we will set the fares, we will set the standards, we will set the frequency, and we will set the routes, gives us the opportunity for the very first time in recent history, since deregulation took effect in 1986, for the very first time to introduce regulated services to make sure that every single parts of our rich region, every community is adequately served by public transport, and that the profits that are made in those areas where, like the 21 bus route through from Durham through to Newcastle, makes considerable surpluses, is used to subsidise those areas that otherwise would not have bus services. This is going to be a process. We have to go through an assessment. There will be a public consultation. It will take some time to achieve, but everyone will be consulted, all elements of our community, and I think this is something which is long overdue and is anticipated eagerly by our residents.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that, and it's beyond time that we get on with this, because we have seen, you know, over 30% reduction in our bus services across our region in recent years. And as I said, we don't have the luxury of not acting, because where Councillor Sanderson and I live, he is my local councillor, we do not recognise that picture of a local bus service. It certainly doesn't work like that for our residents. And so it really is important that we consult properly, we get a picture of what people want from it, get control of those buses so that we're able to dictate the frequency, the cost, and to support people to access that opportunity. Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you very much. Yes, another happy constituent. Sorry, it's very, very...
As long as I'm not getting a bus.
So I welcome, as a county, we have naturally got some concern about how any change might affect those people in the farthest and most remote parts of the county. But I'm grateful that you understand that, and that Councillor Gannon understands that as well. So I think if we together take step by step on this, bearing in mind that crucial need to think about rural areas as well. One thing I think that people need to have in rural areas is a sense of sustainability. Yeah. If they know that they're going to get a bus service that won't just last for 6 or 9 months, but it'll last for a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, then people will start using buses more. So that's what I think. So I'll work with you on this.
Fantastic, and that's exactly what we want. And I must add, and Councillor Gannon referenced this before, you know, this is a lengthy process that we're embarking on now, but we've got to get started. In the meantime, we will continue to work with the bus companies to improve our buses. We've got good relationships with them. They understand our intentions. We've made it very clear the direction of travel, and we'll be working to spend every penny of the settlement that we've got to improve things across the region for those that rely on public transport, and for those who want to transition onto public transport so they can make a greener choice to get around our region in a different way. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Redfern. Mayor Redfern.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to point out something that I do think this is really important, right? Looking at the buses and what happens. Because I have people who live, I'm sure you have in your area, who can't get to the country. Right. No. I have children in our schools who never even seen an animal on a farm, have no concept at all what that's like. So it's really important. That's not just about people in the rural areas, it's about people right across the region. So I do welcome this, and I'm glad that I'm able to voice their concerns. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Checker.
Thank you, Mayor McGuinness. It's fantastic to see this completely transformational proposition being progressed right at the start of the North East Combined Authority, as was promised. So really well done to everybody. Obviously, Sunderland very much welcomes the plans. They've got the potential to significantly improve the bus services for our residents, having a positive impact on their daily lives. As we all know, deregulation has not served our residents well, particularly those who depend on the bus network to get where they need to be. So it's a really exciting time for the Combined Authority to be in a position to make this fundamental change, and I very much welcome it.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor McGuinness. I think, following on from Councillor Checker's comments, I think this really is about a network of equity and about equalities, and it's really that point of access, as Mayor Redfern has pointed out. We regularly and frequently talk about the amazing assets that are abundant across the whole of our region, but the fact that so many people fail to have access to many of them due to the cost of public transport or the lack of provision of public transport, and whether that's from getting access to employment, access to just leisure amenities, just for those rural communities. I think it's hugely important. It is game-changing. It's delivering on your manifesto pledge. So I think all credit to us, everyone.
Thank you very much. Lovely. Any other comments? Great. Are we happy to accept these recommendations and get on with it? Lovely. Thank you very much. If there's no other business, I see no hands, then I will see you at the next meeting of the North East Combined Authority, which will take place on Tuesday, the 17th of September, and we will be in the Quadrant in North Tyneside on our regional tour. Thank Thank you very much, everyone.